Hello, it's Tom Aspinall here, UFC interim heavyweight champion. I'm down here at Evolution Fitness XL, where I train predominantly. And today we have a special guest. We're here with Mr. Ross Edgley, who he swims and shit. We don't know, what do you...
I do. I don't know about that, Tom. I just float. I'm quite good at floating and eating. That's basically, I don't know if I swim, but I once floated around Great Britain. It was a weird way to spend the summer.
You definitely swim better than me. I said to you off camera, for the people who don't know, I actually can't swim. I can swim a bit, but like, very inefficient at swimming. If I did 2 lengths, I'd be absolutely exhausted. So Ross is going to teach me a bit of swimming. Not today, we're going to do that at a later date, but...
I'm going to love that. Ice swimming as well. I think you'll be a good ice swimmer.
I have an ice bath, actually. I do quite a bit of ice. Mate, I'm not saying that I'm definitely not an ice swimmer, but I'm pretty... I won't say I'm well versed. I'm moderately versed in ice water therapy, so yeah. I reckon I'd be okay.
Well, this is the thing. So, like, people watching, muscle mass is thermic. It means it generates heat. So, like, he's got a lot of that. So, I think if I can just teach Tom to swim, you could be the world's heavyweight.
Would you
ice
say
swimmer,
that?
As well as UFC
Would you
champion.
say that swimming in ice is easier than just sitting in it, or not?
Do you know what? That's a really good question. It's harder. So you get the vasoconstriction of capillaries. So when you're swimming, the blood's trying to go around. So it's right, you need me in your arms and your legs to kick. But also as well, we're trying to protect the vital organs at the same time. So there's a lot of physiology.
Yeah, well, I've read up a lot on ice therapy and all that kind of stuff. When like your hands and feet get cold, that's essentially the blood going to your vital organs, isn't it? Am I right saying that?
That's exactly it. Yeah. And it's so interesting. I mean, we were talking about this before, and I know you're a big fan of philosophy and stuff, but Epictetus, one of the great ancient Stoics, he had this really cool saying, which was just getting wintered. And it was just this idea that like wars were fought in the summer, but what you did in the winter had a profound impact on how well you performed during the war.
Yeah.
So I think there's this real element of just kind of like just training ugly and hard, like in those winter months, that will see how well you do when the battle actually arrives.
Right, but you do take it to... I would like to ask you about like... Because it's something like, we don't know each other very well. And right, I've got so much respect for what you do, but at the same time I just think, it's got to be a bit fucking weird.
Like, for sure.
Where does... But I said this to my mate the other day, I said, I just met Ross Edgley, lovely fella. I've watched loads of YouTube stuff and all that. I said, he's got to be a bit fucking weird though. And then he returned by saying, yeah, but mate, you meet someone you don't know and have a fight with them in front of millions of people. I'm like, fair point on that.
Do you know what I love about that is I often say that resilience is suffering strategically managed. And I think what's really interesting is I would do another lap of Great Britain before I got into a cage with another human in front of thousands of people.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Well, I guess it's the same. Like, obviously, you get a buzz out of what you do to a certain degree, and I'm the same. Like, putting yourself in them kind of bad situations, that gives me a massive buzz.
Yeah.
Because I never know. Like, ultimately, I think I can do it. I'm like, I've trained, I've prepared, done all the right stuff, but can I never actually know that I can do it until it's done. So, and I would imagine it's the same for you.
Oh, yeah. But I think what's also interesting, I remember we were chatting before last week, and what's kind of the common denominator, I think what bonds all athletes as well, is we were talking about Aristotle has this term eudaimonia. So eudaimonia, basically, he believed, Aristotle, that happiness was a bad word. He said, like, you shouldn't just be happy because it means that you don't struggle or suffer. Whereas he said happiness without fulfillment is failure. So he coined this phrase eudaimonia instead, because he was like, if you suffer for a goal, it's not happiness that you achieve at the end, it's eudaimonia. Great example is if I gave you £1 million right now, you'd be happy. Of course you would, it's £1 million. But if you weren't £1 million because you just became the UFC heavyweight champ,
it's definitely better.
That's
definitely
different. Yeah, and I think that's the thing that sort of bonds all athletes, and certainly chatting to you last week, that it's like, it doesn't matter if you're sort of punching another human in the face and you come out victorious or somewhere around Britain. It's eudaimonia that bonds everyone.
I think so. I think for me personally, everyone's different, of course, but the biggest emotion kind of thing that I feel after my fights is relief. I'm just like, I'm so glad that wasn't me. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I feel like. Yeah. Especially, it's like MMA is a tricky sport because I really respect everyone who does it, and especially not my last fight, but the one before. The guy I fought was actually my friend. Like, I can actually say that. And at the end of the day, I'm just glad it wasn't me. And I know that sounds like really egotistical and like self-centered and
I think it's honest.
There's two of us in there, and I'm fucking happy that wasn't me who's lay on the floor unconscious. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think that's it. What I love, and I think I speak for a lot of people, is just how honest you are. Like a lot of people, when you look at MMA fighters and stuff, there's bravado, there's ego. You need an ego. You absolutely need it.
Definitely.
You do. But I think what I love about here is you just go afterwards. I was relieved, you know, and when you were going in, you were like, I was scared. I love the story that you tell about your son as well. When he's just like,
It's
a bit scary Russian.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so nice as well, that if you can almost be honest with your ego, you're a different animal.
Oh, I think that's when I started really like having some serious successes, like that fear actually helps me. And I think that especially as an MMA fighter, as a cage fighter, especially as a big one, like a heavyweight, I think that a lot of the time is we tell ourselves that we're not scared and you shouldn't be scared and it's a bad thing. But once you actually realise that, shit, you can use fear like as a weapon, seriously use it as another attribute to help you win. And that's something that I probably started figuring that out just before I got in the UFC. So I was probably already like over 20 fights deep. You know what I mean? I had a lot of fights still at that point. But once I kind of started getting the hang of that, is like, I can really use fear. And as soon as I accept it and embrace it, I can use it to like help me win, and since I did that, like I've been on this mad like run of wins. So I'm happy with it.
Same with even with ice swimming, that to know physiologically the heart rate's going, it's predicting what's going to happen. And it's just going cool. The body's preparing itself. It's fight or flight.
Definitely.
You know what's going on. But I love what you said there, because I think people who are honest about that have a real mastery of their physiology, their psychology. But people who don't. Oh, it's dangerous.
I think for us being like MMA fighters, it's difficult because I think if you're like a tennis player or a golfer, you can say, oh yeah, I was scared to lose, but most MMA fighters, like you say, you've got a big ego. You don't want to say that, oh, I'm scared to fight somebody, because that's a fear in itself to say, oh, I'm scared to go out and get knocked out in front of everybody. But as soon as I started admitting that, I just felt like it took my game to a different level, to be honest.
But we said this before, because for those watching it, I love the UFC. I've been a fan for ages, and I think that's so refreshing about what you bring. Everybody almost like, I said before, you're almost like this scholar athlete. Plato had this idea talking about like scholar athletes and stuff like that, in that you're so honest and educated. It's almost like navigating, MMA. And there's been every sort of like, from Conor McGregor to Hamza, everyone, but you're bringing almost like Sun Tzu Art of War.
I don't know. I just try to I always think like fair play to people who are playing characters. I'm not saying them guys are playing characters, but I'm personally not comfortable with it. So I don't really want to go around acting like someone in front of a camera and then acting like someone that I'm not on my day-to-day life. I'd just rather just be myself at all times. So I think it's took a long time to like be happy and comfortable with myself as a person. And now I'm here, I don't want to start acting like someone else, you know what I mean? So I think I'm really... It's a tricky one, isn't it, mate? Because you've got to make money and you've got to sell and do all that stuff, but I would rather do it authentically than do it any other way.
That was it, but we spoke about this the other day, almost, we were talking about Gladiator and, Maximus, when it's like win the crowd and win your freedom, and it's exactly that. That you can be the best fighter in the world, but you also have to sell tickets at the same time.
It's tough, it's tough. It's definitely... You ultimately... If no one cares about watching you fight, then what's the point?
100%.
And I do get that. But I like to think, hopefully, that my style speaks for itself, because I'm a finisher. I finish nearly all of my... Well, I actually finished all of my fights. Every win of mine is a finish, so hopefully that makes people want to watch just in itself. So
So this is weird, because I know we draw so many comparisons and stuff, but obviously your dad being in your camp and everything, my dad was a tennis coach, but weirdly just everything, like every athletic adventure swimming around Great Britain, I would always bounce it off him. And it was just so interesting that like swimming around Great Britain, I would just like turn up and tell my dad an idea. I'd be like, look, I'm going to swim around Great Britain, and he'd just sit there sort of stoically and sort of go, okay, never tell me it was a bad idea. And then he'd just be there like researching how far I have to swim every single day and everything like that. And he would just like reverse engineer and deconstruct every single idea with me. And I lost my dad now 2 years
Oh, I'm
ago.
sorry, mate.
Oh no, bless you. Now I can look back. It's been a rough 2 years. Whereas now I can sort of remember him very fondly, like before I'd like start crying. Whereas now, and it's weird how somebody said something amazing to me, in that they were like, he was almost my guiding light, Northern Star, when he was here, and now he's not. I still just always ask, what would Dad say? Like, what would he do? So it's weird how he's not here, but he's still that guiding light. So,
Oh, mate, that's unreal because as someone, I'm a father myself, I've got 3 children. And to imprint that legacy in someone, that just shows how lucky you were to have the dad that you had.
Yeah.
Because like that's what I'm ultimately trying to achieve. Like when I'm not here, the kids will be able to think, well, this is the way dad would do it, so this is what I'm. That's fucking awesome, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
I
cool
love
as
what
fuck.
you said there, just like that blueprint. That is exactly
That's
it.
cool.
Yeah, like,
I'm exactly the same. Like I always say, like if we finish doing this shit now, and I was in the car on the way back, and my dad said, you know what, Tom, I think you should ring the UFC now and retire. I would do it instantly. And that's just the way I feel about it. Like it's mine and my dad's thing, and it always has been, and it always will be, and that's the way it is. And if it wasn't for my dad, I wouldn't be doing this sport. So it's like simple as that. Simple as that, man.
Mate, everybody welled up, especially like after the title and stuff like that. Just knowing and then seeing your dad with the belt in the cage afterwards, it was like, yeah.
Oh well, he's been with me since obviously since I was born. But like he took me to my first training session when I was like 7, and I've trained so many different places all around the world and met so many different people from this sport, and every single person I've come in contact with knows my dad as well, because he's been at literally near enough, mate, literally every training session near enough, and every fight, everything, every competition. Because you got to remember, I've had like 30 MMA fights all in all with amateur fights as well. But like I've had boxing fights, Thai boxing fights, grappling competition, mate, I've been all over competing, and my dad's been at every single one, so that's something to behold, isn't it? It's good,
really
good stuff.
is. And just who you surround yourself with, I think that's so important. Like associativity is such a powerful tool. And when obviously you're born into it and it's your dad, it's sometimes easier. But I think even for anybody watching, just who you surround yourself with, it's just like your tribe, your community, who you create. And actually, as an extension of that, just witnessing you here today, and like, I've never seen so many big people in one room.
Yeah, there's a lot of big dudes. Yeah. A lot of big guys, mate.
Oh, but it's just the way that everyone bounces off each other.
Oh, these are my best friends as well. At this point, we'd like travelled the world together, and I've been to their fights, they've been to my fights, and that's the way it's got to be, though. Essentially, we beat each other up every day, but it couldn't be like more respectful outside of the gym. And they're just like, it's like family. Do you know what I mean? We are like family, and it's great, man. It's really good. Oh no, I'm not looking. I'm not looking for a nickname. I don't. He said that your nickname is a Labrador or something. Is that right?
This is what Eddie.
Eddie. It's a fitting name, though, isn't it? It's good. It's good.
Yeah. That was everybody. Well, it was Eddie. We did a video, and Eddie was just like, I think the actual term, he was like, Ross is like a Labrador on cocaine. I'm always quite energetic. So I don't know if that would catch on as we need a name for you. What has no
Yeah, of course they have. Yeah, but
like Maximus, just the gladiator.
No, I don't know. I liked. So I was chatting before the last fight. Are you familiar with John Anik?
Of course,
John Anik's like, in my opinion, John Anik is like fucking man when it comes to like. I always get confused between colour commentary and the other one. I don't know. He's the one who basically reads the stats, and he's got a great voice. He's a fucking great guy as well. And we were chatting like, you do like a fighter meeting before you fight. It's like a few days before on fight week, and he just gets some stats off you, what you're training me like, with personal life and all that shit. We were talking about fear actually, and I was saying fear helps me, and he said, oh, it's like a honey badger. That's what honey badgers do. Is like they go into like some mad rage and start killing everything when they're scared. Only when they're scared. And he's like, your nickname should be the honey badger. I'm like, no, mate, don't do nicknames. Don't.
Oh no!
And then
they take on lions.
Well, that's what he said. He was telling me all this, and then we got to the weigh-ins. He was announcing the weigh-ins, and he announced me as the honey badger, and I was just like, John. Fucking hell, mate. And then I said, after he was like, it just came out, I'm sorry, it just came out. It's not, a couple of I seen that TNT Sport posted a thing about it, they were like loving it. But I'm just not, I find them a bit corny, you know. I think they're a bit corny, I don't know, I'd just rather be without one. I think without one's better. I do like it and that, but no, just not for me,
In the comments, let us know.
Let us know in the comments, Right, cheers, mate. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.